Hello, hello. Lovely to see your faces. Those whose faces I can see. And cats, people's cats as well. I've been contemplating this for a little while, and I feel like this is my time for me to push stop on Lightworkers. So we're not sure whether someone else will want to facilitate the group or whether it's time for a break or whether, because all of the change that's going on everywhere and in every area of life, thank the goddess, something else might arise to hook into sometime down the track, who knows. So yeah, so this is our final Lightworkers for a little while. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us and being on this journey. It's at least 18 months, I think. So with all of the change going on around, and who knows what's coming up to work with, it just feels like the right time for this. So yeah, thank you for coming and sharing and playing and working and serving. And if nothing else, for me, coming from that place of I want to smash the patriarchy to I now want to compost the patriarchy has been a massive transformation. And I've been engaged in that with you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I was thinking about Hanamani's email and the experience she had at what she thought was a safe place, a safe environment, and how discernment is what we're all needing to cultivate and refine. And I felt I might have you all add into the chat box things we can keep our eye out for so that we can cultivate discernment. So for instance, I reckon a pretty simple one is if you find that any conversation you're in with any group aims to put down a minority group, you can probably be certain that if you're an inclusive person who wants equality in the world, that's not the roots of the group that you're aiming to join. That if you are joining in a conversation that derides, demonizes, blames any kind of minority group, then I reckon that's one way you can go, oh, hang on, let me take a step back and examine a bit more what it is that I came to this group for. And am I getting that here? Or am I getting something else underneath that as a side salad that I wasn't counting on? Or as a bed of rice or mashed potato, whatever you have under your hero on your dish. So what might be some other ways that could be little alarm, not alarm bells, we don't want to be alarmed, just alert, awareness bells, let's call them those. Awareness bells where you might want to go, okay, awareness of the actual words that we use in our language. Example, referring to where someone lives as their property. Absolutely. It's engaging with that modern colonist ownership power over, rather than I'm the guardian of this place. Referring to yourself as a guardian of the country that you're on. I think that's a great one. We were chatting about earlier how herbalism, energy healing, Indigenous healing, chiropractic, body work are all called alternate therapies or complementary therapies. And it's like, bugger that, there's only medicine. These are not a complement to something that is the primary thing. That's just a belief we have. Each of those systems that I speak about are modalities in and of themselves that are complete healing systems in the area that they work. They're not meant to be a complement to an overlord of medicine, if that makes sense. So for me, in that language, complementary or alternative, I'm going to try and cancel that out when I speak about various types of medicine. I saw a great list of oxymorons today, and one of them was objective opinion. You can't have an objective opinion by its very nature. It's an oxymoron because it's your personal opinion. If there isn't the spaciousness for many views of something, then dig a little deeper. Am I really getting what I came here for, kind of thing? I was in a class today with a teacher I really admire, and I'm used to using we a lot because I want to be inclusive. And I think someone else used it before me, just the word we, and she said, I'm going to ask you not to use that because really you don't speak for anyone else in this group. You don't speak for humanity. You don't speak for You speak for you. Please use I words. And it's like, whoa, and this big whoa. And I understood the point she was making in that case, that there's times where we are a we, and there's times when I am an I expressing only my view kind of thing. And I would like there to be space for other views too. Any discussions that are blaming of others? Yep. Blaming of any group or people. Blaming a person? Yep. Blame. I agree. Modern culture pivots on blame a lot. The news programs are using language to tell us who are the good guys and who are the demons in accordance with who owns the news program. So, yeah, absolutely. The language of blame is a pivotal thing. Everything nowadays seems far more nuanced. Well, you know what? I think it always was, and that part of modern culture is whitewashing everything as the one norm. You know what I mean? That there's some very bland, vanilla norm that is the right way or the only way. And when we want to get nuanced, it's often like people meet a conversation around the nuance of something with eye rolling, which is quite aggressive, or frustration, or an accusation that you're sensitive if you go into a nuance. So, yeah, I think we're really realizing that things are nuanced. Yeah. Bringing more awareness to the felt sense. Yep. How I'm feeling rather than what I think. Oh, absolutely. The conceptualizing of everything and the relegating the greatest priority to the thought rather than what the truth of the internal voice is saying, which always includes the body. You know, the feeling that you have or the sense of something is here that you have it. It's not out there, and it's not in some place called the mind. It's felt sense. So yes, the relegating of priority and superiority to the mind above all other parts of self. Agreed. Oh, good ones, guys. I'm loving it. It is creating the drama triangle. Yeah, we're just constantly creating power games and those drama triangles of rescuer, persecutor, and victim, or aloof and interrogator, or, you know, where there's one up or two up and one down, one up and one down. You know, there's an up and down thing. I also learned today that the word coven literally means a gathering. That's it. That's the extent of the word. Not a witches' gathering, just a gathering. It's a circle, in fact. Fantastic. Anyone got any more? I think I mentioned earlier, you know, the pressure for perfectionism. You know, if you find yourself in a space where you're not allowed to heal forward, if I can quote Maisha T. Hill, by making mistakes and then being corrected. If there isn't that space, it's a perfectionist space. I think that's another way of, as a discernment tool. I can't be vulnerable here because it's not safe to be. Competition, yes, rather than helping and sharing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Competition is a big one. What other groups do they support? Oh, that's a thing to look out for? Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that's as important as knowing who the major donors to your politicians are and to political campaigns. Knowing what other groups they support, who, yeah, absolutely, it's a good one. Okay. I think going back to the felt sense, tuning into your felt sense, not only acknowledging that only doing concept and mind is a good thing to keep your eye out for, but paying attention to your felt sense. If you walk into a space and you don't feel safe to be vulnerable, then it may not be the space for you. It may not be the space where you feel safe to be a rebel, to change the world as it is, to help midwife in a new age, you know? So learning to tune into our bodies is also a really good discernment tool. Okay, well, you know what we're going to do now, don't you? We're going to go in. Because we can go for the system, go for the system, go for the system, and we should, in whatever is your rebellious way, in the outer world. And the system will never change if we're not making these internal changes along with it. And we're really co-creating in that way, aren't we? Like, we're internally and externally at the same time. So we're going to go in and we're going to look for any habits of blame, look for any biases and I'm just going to invite you to be doing that through this for when I get to any releases around bias, because you may or may not consciously know that you have them, but you may notice them when you run into the people that represent those things in the street. So if you can, open your awareness to biases that you might have that are part of the culture that we're helping compost out, and seeding, the soil for what we're hoping to midwife in. Everything rooted in materialist consciousness. Absolutely. And I was thinking about that earlier. And materialist consciousness does go back 5,000 years. And the way I know that, well, materialist consciousness might not, but physical consciousness does, or the theme of physicality does. The way I know that is from very proud Wiradjuri woman, Minmaya, and she speaks in Under the Quandong Tree about the dreaming tracks, that in the beautiful and complex understanding of the sky, and not only understanding of the sky and the earth, but of vast tracts of time and how it all operates. She speaks in Under the Quandong Tree about how our Mother the Earth and our solar system sits on dreaming tracks for about 5,000 years at a time. I think I've told you this story before. Some of you may remember it and some not. The dreaming tracks we're on provide a theme that pulls the focus of humanity for those 5,000 years. And that the dreaming track we've been on for 5,000 years was the physical dreaming track. And so the thematic focus for humanity for 5,000 years was the physical. And that coming into a dark age, I've added this bit about the dark age, these are not Minmaya's words, we've exhausted everything we can do with the physical. So much focus is on not being uncomfortable while not being in our bodies. Go figure. We avoid discomfort at all costs, and we're not in our bodies. So it's been 5,000 years of that. So that dark turning bit is where we become materialist rather than have a thematic focus on the physical. We spoke about this in our final class last night too, this story. This was story time, in fact, this story of the next bit I'm going to tell you. And this is why I have hope whenever I doubt that we're heading in the right direction, or I doubt that we can make it in time. And I don't mean in my lifetime even. I don't know when the new tide will fully be in. But I do lose hope sometimes. And what gives me hope every single time is the wisdom of the elders of Australia. And that on the 7th of May in 1990 or 1991, in the years leading up to that, from 1987, there were many meetings of Indigenous elders across the country talking about the state of the world and the trouble we're in, and the trouble we were giving to Nunjanatia, to Mother Earth. And so after many, 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 many meetings and conversations, it was agreed by the elders that they would use their wisdom to shift us 100 years earlier from the dreaming track of physicality to the dreaming track of spirituality, which was to be the next one we move on to anyway. That was done by retrieving groups of sacred stones that had been sent out into the world 5,000 years ago from here, planted in sacred places all over the world. And those stones were retrieved in 1989 and smashed in 1990 on the 7th of May at 7 p.m, I think it was. And Minmaya had to smash the stones that she'd been sent on an earth walk to retrieve in full ceremonial dress, topless, ochre painted, in Redfern at 7 p.m. in the evening. And she said it was a pretty wild time, and that she felt in the book, she says, you can feel the energy of the stone smashing. So that's what gives me hope, is that people who have successfully inhabited the planet for far longer than any of this culture can, had the wisdom to do that for us in a very generous way. Why am I telling you that story? Hope, I think. The hope was the part. And I'd like us all to continue with hope. You know, if you find yourself lacking hope in this walk, in this great turning, then reach out to people like myself and Veena Vani, and anyone on this screen, I imagine, is a good person to reach out to, and get some backup, have a chat, and find whatever way restores your hope for you. That story always restores mine. Okay, let's do some clearing of those things that we've mentioned, and hopefully of our throats, and our, like, an awakening to the language that we use without realizing that we're keeping hierarchies that don't need to exist in place. All right, let's close down our eyes. Take your awareness to your breath. Take a breath in from the air around you, all of the air around you that's outside your home. Let your home kind of dissipate. Let your out-breath go down through your body into our Mother, the Earth. That's it. Feeling into the energy of the earth you're on, the country you're on right now. And we acknowledge the country we're on. Here I acknowledge the Awabakal. And we pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, to the language holders, the teachers of culture and the elders, the medicine men and women. We pay our respects to all of the ancestors of these lands and the lands of our own ancestries, ancient ancestries. We call on the animate everything everywhere, the life force in everything, including us. We call on Cosmic Mother and Cosmic Father by the names that resonate with each of us. We call on our spiritual teachers, guides and friends, our spirit kin, our blazing souls and the oneness within them. We call on our Mother, the Earth, and the mothers of the kingdoms of nature and the elements and directions. Take a breath in from Mother Earth and come up, 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 up. And releasing your breath and the energy upwards. We call on the sun and moon, planets and constellations, on the dance of the stars and the planets that mirrors the dances within each of us as individuals and groups and as ecosystems. Breathe in from above. Bring the energy to the heart center. And we call on the beings of the inner planes, the great teachers of love, of harmony and balance, of reciprocity. The great wisdom holders who help hold fast to the energy of love through this great turning. And we give thanks for all of the blessings of our inner change and transformation and the external change that we are participating in and living. For all healing, liberation, for light, love and power. We give thanks for this group and the extraordinary collaboration of spirit here this evening. We give thanks for wisdom, guidance and protection, for the peeling away of veils of illusion. We give thanks for blessings on all of our senses, our physical senses and our inner plane senses. May they be sharpened and honed. And may each of us play our part in this great turning. May we engage with community. May we be courageous, strong, beacons of love and light. May we be spacious and heart-centered. And may we each be the unique and authentic expressions of the one giant self everywhere. Through divine grace, so be it. Take your awareness to the top of your head. As the energy streams down through you, let your feet feel Mother Earth, feeling yourself as a conduit and antenna of Mother Earth. Sensing the cosmos. Great sense beings. Connecting with the violet flame. That's it. Let it pour down through you. Let it saturate into any despair that you felt or desperation, any upset, anger, frustration, any sense of inequality, unfairness, pain or suffering, any judgment. Let it saturate through your body. And whether that's been personal or transpersonal, I'm beginning to think there is no difference. And so while everything feels like ours, what if some of what you're sensing is something happening across the ocean or in the other hemisphere of our planet or out on a star, or all of creation is connected? So let the violet flame pour down through what feels like individual you, saturating into everything. And say, I release all negative thoughts, vibrations and energy, and all pockets of trapped emotion from our bodies, minds, and energy fields. Take a nice deep breath in and release through everywhere. I think I mixed our pronouns then. Said I and ours. There you go. Okay, let that violet flame keep pouring through you. As it does, let's just take a moment, come into the heart center. Come into the space where you have your conversation with what I call the animate everything. You might call Narayani, you might call God, you might call Bayami, you might call whatever you call that everythingness. Come to that place and take a moment to have a very humble conversation with the life force that you call the divine, whatever you call it. And acknowledge with that oneness that we know we're not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I'm not going to speak for you. I know I'm not perfect. Animate everything. Great creatrix. I know there's so many things that I don't know. Ways I'm engaging in sustaining the system rather than helping compost it. Have your conversation now and ask for help. Not only to clear the things that will help you have discernment, but ongoing help. Ask for the eyes that will see and the ears that will hear, the voice that will speak that which your heart really yearns for rather than the unconscious programming. And while you're in that little conversation with the animate everything, the divine parent, asking that you be able to hold yourself in a place of nurture as well as courage. because it can be a bit crappy discovering the ways in which we engage without knowing. And I invite you to trust that that prayer was heard and answered. What if we all say, I choose to release myself from the modern culture and mass consciousness of using the tool of blame to maintain an unjust hierarchy. I release myself from that now. Take a lovely breath in from above, lots of fire. Releasing out through the back of the neck. Good. And say, I choose to release myself from the mass consciousness that champions competition and judgment. And I set myself free of the roots of that programming now. Take a deep breath of the violet flame in from above. Again, we're going to breathe the roots out of the back of the neck. I feel them hooking up into the back of the brain, so releasing through there as well with the first out breath. Good. Take another breath of the violet flame in from above. And then kind of from the back of the neck all the way down the spine, feel as you breathe out the roots of that coming out all the way down to the base of the spine. That false security that we're promised, or the security that we're promised, which is false, that if we can maintain ourselves above someone else, then we're safe, we're secure. As long as there is someone below us, we're safe and secure. That's inherently what this system says. Take another deep breath of fire in from above and from the back of the neck again, right out, all the way down the spine. Pull, really weeding that garden. That's beautiful. Good. Okay. Say, I choose to release myself from all practices of hypercriticism of those who are different to me or who I perceive are different to me. I dissolve and release that now. Nice deep breath in from above. Releasing out through the throat and all around the throat. Say, and I ask to be liberated from my unconsciousness around language and to be awakened to the ways in which words separate us. Take a deep breath in from above. This time out through both the front and the back of the neck. Good. Another breath of fire in from above, please. And again, out through the throat, front of the throat and the back of the neck and the ears this time. Good. Say, I choose to release all of the words I've heard or have spoken which help sustain the system. I release those now. Breathing in. Releasing through the whole of the voice part of you and the hearing part of you. So the throat, the ears, vocal cords, the mouth and the tongue. Beautiful. And with your awareness at the throat, say, I choose to open to excited curiosity about my language and the language of the culture. Beautiful. Say, I choose curiosity now. And letting light pour in from above, brilliant light, and down into the throat, all around the neck and the throat. Let there be a glowing happening. Almost a childlike curiosity, you know, approaching language as though you're learning it for the first time. Where does that word come from? Why do we use that word? Who does this word exclude or include? Beautiful. Excellent. What if we say, I choose to dissolve and release the frameworks and structures within me that hold onto the drama triangle of victim, persecutor, rescuer. I release those frameworks and the energy in the habits of those frameworks. Beautiful, lovely deep breath in from above, tons of fire. Out in all directions through the basin of your torso, so at hip level, out in all directions there. Good, 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 good. Nice. Say, I'm ready to dissolve and release all need for competition, all habit of competition, and all limits on my capacity for sharing. Take a deep breath in from above, out at the solar plexus level, same as you did with the basin of your torso, out in all directions, but at the bottom of the ribs there, where the stomach sits, out in all directions there. And being aware of like how ingrained competition is. Think about how you were encouraged to hide your schoolwork from the person sitting next to you, to not share what you'd learned, to attribute all of the expertise to the teacher and share nothing with the fellow students. All of that kind of competitiveness. Any competitiveness in your family or your workplace that you engage in. Take another deep breath of the fire in from above, out at that solar plexus level again, in all directions. Good. And say, I choose to release myself from the roots of the mass consciousness that focus entirely on the material. Deep breath in from above, out through the back of the neck and out through the solar plexus as well. Excellent. And say, and I choose to release myself from the roots of the mass consciousness that seeks to reduce and isolate everything out of its environment, its ecosystem, and its relationships. Take a deep breath in from above, and there's a big core of that right at the solar plexus, front and back, releasing forwards and backwards. Nothing exists in isolation. We can't examine things in isolation. Doesn't work. If we discount something's place in creation and its relationship with everything around it, then we cannot fully understand it if we reduce it out and isolate it or individuate it. Whether that thing is a bacteria or a virus, whether it's a plant, whether it's a heartbeat, whether it's a westerly wind, to examine it only in its individuated form. We lose so much understanding of that thing because we skip its relationship with everything around it and the ecosystem, or for another word, the country it comes from. Take a deep breath in. This thing about reductionism and isolating and individuating, it looks visually like a cylindrical, solid piece of timber. And I feel like if we pull the fire down right into the core of our solar plexus, front and back, it splits this thing and we can send the two halves, one out the front, one out the back. Good. Good, good, good. And then what if we say, I humbly ask that all of the blindfolds and masks and other mechanisms which hold me back from discernment and deep perception now be removed. Take another deep breath in and breathing out as though you are releasing the masks, the earmuffs, the insulators we've got around us that prevent us from our kinesthetic awareness. Release through the mouth. Let our Taste senses awaken more. Release through the nose, through the eyes. That's it. And say, may I be an ever clearing channel for the energy of love and for the power of love to direct my purpose in this great turning. Breathe in from above and up from beneath you and let the energy meet at the heart. Think of that prayer you just said. And breathe out through everywhere and let the prayer ripple out through you, beyond your skin, beyond your aura. Let it ripple through the earth, through the air around you, through your blood, your lymph, your muscles. Let it ripple inwards and outwards. That we be an ever clearing, ever lightening, and by that I mean clarity, channels for the power of love to be our purpose in this great turning. And knowing that because we're all relational, nothing exists in isolation. Nothing can be reduced to an individual anything or an isolated anything and be known. Because we're relational, trusting that everything released, everything that was spoken by all of us then, happens transpersonally as well as personally. Time to hold the vision of global peace, of deep awakening and transformation, for power to be restored to the collective, the whole of the collective. Where those who have been voiceless before can be heard, seen. Where the needs of the collective are supported and held. And where an extraordinary unity comprised of rich diversity brings forth a thriving, not known on earth for many hundreds of years. Let your visual fill your inner eyesight. Know that even though it feels like this visual happens within you, it happens everywhere at once. It happens throughout the whole of the one great self. Holding the vision, connecting with ancestors. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We ask that the animate everything bless and animate and vivify and enliven the work of every light worker on the planet. And that we be courageous hands, hearts, and voices for peace and unity. And we ask this in full faith. So be it. Let the gratitude that you feel for being in your life, for being a light worker, let your gratitude that you feel through your sense of connection and for your sense of connection, let it flourish in your heart, let it grow and grow, feed it with every breath until it's literally flowing out of your hearts and through you and everywhere. And we offer this gratitude as well as our awe and wonder to the animate everything everywhere, to the creatrix, creator, to the benevolent, loving life force, to the divine intelligence, and to all of the names that we give to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for bringing us together for these 25 occasions. Thank you for restoring us and reassuring us. Thank you for the hope and for the ever-growing communities. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stabilize. And blessings right now to Hanamani in America, who's been very busy, she tells me. Very busy and not sleeping well. So lots of blessings to her for being our centre pole through this, for keeping us together, connecting us through email and through kindness and love. Thanking Vinavani as well for all that she has contributed. She's been our news reporter on the ground. And thank you to each other. Send your gratitude to everyone who's here tonight and those who couldn't make it tonight. And to our Mother, the Earth, thank you. And breathing your way back into your body, into the room you're in. And wriggling your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Thanks, everyone. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you, Parvati. It's been a great ride. So loved it, and love everyone for joining us too.
Thank you, Vinavani, and thank you, everyone. Keep up the good work, everyone. Keep rebelling. If I could say anything to anyone, it would be do not stop rebelling in whatever loving ways you can find. And so thank you to all of your pets, your furries. Thank you as well. Lots of love. And we'll see you all at something somewhere.